Welcome to the Karen Kenney Show.
Hey, welcome to the Karen Kenney Show. I hope you're doing super duper. I hope you're doing fantastic. And I'm going to try to keep this sucker short and maybe not totally sweet, but short. Certainly going to do my best to just kind of keep it kind of on the shorter side. Okay, let's just dive right into it. I'm sure that you saw the title of this episode, right? But there's a reason why I'm finally doing this episode. I've talked about this topic in written form online several times. I don't know if I've ever done it. I looked back. I'm like, after like 320 some odd shows, I'm like, have I talked about this before? But maybe not in this particular way. And what's inspiring this episode is, first of all, just humanity and where it's at right now. Also, the state of online social media platforms where people just feel like they can say and do whatever they want to do. But also on a more personal level. I was recently talking with a friend, and this is really the heartbeat of the inspiration of this episode. I was recently talking with a friend, and they've been going through some things, right? Some stuff had been happening in their family. Like, there was a loved one that had died, like back to back, a loved one that had died. And then another elderly relative like fell down, and they didn't know if they were going, they were in the hospital, and we don't know what the recoup time is going to be, if they're going to ever be the same again, because that's something that happens, right? With older folks, is sometimes once they fall, they don't always recover. That's not true for everybody, but right. And they were just like, they have a lot of kind of balls in the air, juggling a lot of things, and they were just feeling a little run down. But then under that, in addition to that, I should say, I could just hear that there was maybe a little, I don't know if it was sadness or whatever. And as we continued to talk, they just kind of made a quick statement of, yeah, and then I just got a couple of comments on my thing that were like, and I was like, excuse me? Right? Because one of the things about me is I'm very protective, first of all, of animals. You all know that. But I'm also very protective of people I love and my friends, etc. And I don't like when people are mean, period. I don't like bullies, right? I don't like that at all. I certainly don't like it when people are doing it in a way where it's totally uncalled for and unnecessary. So I basically just dug for a little more information, and I said, hey, what's going on? And we can all relate, I'm sure. The details of this story might be slightly different, but I guarantee you, if you've ever owned a business of any kind, if you've been in a relationship of any kind, if you're a creative of any kind, anytime you have tried to put something out into the world, whether it was a project or a product or a program or promoting something, or you just shared your feelings, or something you had written, or something you painted, or music you create, whatever. When you take something from inside of yourself, and then you have the courage, you have the courage, and you're brave enough to share it and put it out into the world, especially the way the world is right now, and we'll get to that in a second, that takes a lot of vulnerability. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of chutzpah. It takes a lot of balls. It takes a lot of grit to be like, okay, I'm going to take this thing that I created and share it. Okay. So she has been doing a webinar, and she was putting it out there trying to help women with menopausal symptoms or whatever. Okay. And then I said, well, what did these people say to you? And she said, well, they didn't verbally say it. They sent me emails. And I was like, okay, do you feel comfortable sharing with me what they said? And she said, yeah. And she shared that with me. And if you're not watching this, you can't see right now. I'm kind of pinching the bridge of my nose where it connects to my forehead, because it's so painful to me. People sometimes, look, people, I love you. You are my brothers and sisters. You are God's kids as well. But sometimes you act like colossal assholes, myself included. And I I really try hard. I really do my best to be so mindful, so aware, less mindful, more aware, of what comes out of my mouth and what my fingers type. You know what I mean? like what I am taking from my mind out of my, I would say head, heart, hands, right? And also sometimes your pie hole. It's like, what is coming out of your mouth? Because a lot of times people are saying things and writing things and doing things, and they are not thinking about the consequences of them being themselves. They are not thinking about how that thing is going to land. So this person here, and I said to her, send me what they wrote to you because I'm going to read them on the air because I want people to see what it's like to be a creator, to be a creative, to be somebody who's trying to do good in the world and help people with problems, to literally show up with solutions. And then this is how some people do. Now, mind you, this was a free, they didn't even pay any money for it. This was a free webinar. Okay. So at least this person started with, just wanted to let you know how informative and interesting the menopause live webinar was. Okay. Then they say, my husband even watched it with me. They could have just stopped there. They could have just like sent that, said, hey, it was informative. It was interesting. Thank you. Even my husband like watched it with me. End of email. But no, they felt like they had to go on to say the following. My only comment is, now, as soon as somebody says that, that's like when people use the word but. I love you, but yeah, that was really good. But my only comment is a faction, right? So it's like an offshoot of that kind of thing. You know that some shit is about to roll downhill, okay? My only comment is we came very close to having a drinking game and taking a sip every time you said the word, right? Oh my God, right? OMG. You said that word more than 1,000 times, I would bet. So I'm glad we didn't do the sipping game because we would have been completely drunk. Thanks again for the seminar. Or is it a webinar? Well, you know what I mean. I'm reading this and I just want to take one of these pens and like stab myself in the eyeball with it because this is so painful to me. Because guys, hear me out. You are entitled to have an opinion. You know that old saying, opinions are like assholes, like everybody's got one, right? But nowhere is it required or do you need to share said opinion with other people, especially if they didn't ask for your opinion, for your feedback, for your POV and point of view. You know what I mean? It's like you had to go ahead and ruin the kindness of your first sentences because you couldn't, your ego just couldn't resist letting that other person know, right? Slip a little meanness in there, a little sarcasm, a little, oh, my only comment is, here's the thing that I will tell you. There are a ton of things like podcasts and stuff out there. There's like millions and millions and millions and millions of podcasts. Do you know how many podcasts actually survive the first three? Like it's something like there's an obscene amount of people who start podcasts, but more than like a third, like whatever the number is, let's say it was 3 million, right? Only like 1 million actually survive after the third episode. You know why? Because people realize how hard it is to put yourself out there, to keep coming up with content, to keep coming up with ways where you're quote unquote adding value to the world and you're benefiting other people and you're trying to like help them and do something, right? So when another human being goes out of their way to offer something for free. Now, look, a webinar or a quote unquote seminar is not designed to give you all of the answers. It's designed to give you enough information that you can see if this program, this product, this thing is going to be a good fit for you. If you resonate with the person leading it or teaching it, if you walk away with at least one thing and you go like, okay, that's really helpful. That's really good information. I'm in, like, I'm going to give this person a shot. I'm going to spend a little money. I'm going to whatever, right? Because I have some symptoms. I have a problem. I don't know the solution. This person seems like they do. So to think that you're just going to go into a free webinar and like get all your questions answered is like obnoxious. But the fact that this person didn't even have a problem with the information, they said it was interesting as well, but they had to make a comment about the way that this person talks. And what I was trying to say about also, in addition to having a podcast, we all have rhythms and ways that we speak and words that we say. Some people say the word a lot. Some people say the word like a lot. Some people say the word right a lot. Some people say, does that make sense a lot? We all have these little quirks to the way that we talk. And there are a lot of people who do online presentations of all kinds who don't like to sound human. They don't want their humanity to slip through. So they are highly polished and edited content, right? They hire a whole team, or they themselves spend hours going in and taking out every pause and every and every whatever. And I've never done that with my show. What you see is what you get. We tack on an intro, we tack on an outro, but you just get me as I am. Even right now, like look at my hair and my face, right? I just got back from a run and I'm still kind of like finishing down sweating. So it's like what you see is what you get. And first of all, for my friend to go out there and to create this thing and to put it out into the world, right? If that's what you see, I just said the word right. If that's what you're going to focus on, you're focusing on the wrong shit, that she said the word right. But the fact that you feel the need to comment on it, to go out of your way to try to make somebody feel whatever the word is, stupid, not good enough, to shame them, to make them insecure, to pull them down a notch, whatever it is. And I'm not saying that this person went out of their way to consciously be an asshole. But again, why be an asshole when you could just be quiet? It didn't, like, think of all the steps that this person had to go through. They signed up for the webinar. It caught their attention. They thought it was interesting enough that they signed up for it, like gave away an hour or 90 minutes, whatever it was of their time. And it's an hour, I think it was like an hour long. So they do an hour of it. And afterwards, they thought, oh, that was informative and interesting. But then they felt the need to make some commentary about another person, not knowing, because this is the thing. When you send something out into the world, you have no idea how the other person on the other end of that thing is going to receive it, what state of mind they're going to be in, what's going on in their life. Maybe they had a loss. Maybe they had something awful happen. Maybe they're struggling with their mental illness, Maybe their mental health isn't in the best place. Maybe they're going through a divorce. Maybe one of their kids is sick. Maybe they're struggling with alcoholism. Like, you don't know. So why go out of your way to do this? And this is what I was trying to get at. I distracted myself. Do you know how many steps a person had to take? You had to go, you had to listen to it, right? Then you had to decide, oh, my opinion is important enough that now I got to look up somebody's email address. I have to write this whole thing out, and then I have to hit send. I'm like, at any one of those markers, any one of those points, this person could have said, no, I don't need to send this. I don't need to say this. But no, the internet and social media has convinced everybody that they have a voice, which, yes, we do all have a voice. But man, this social media does not teach you that you might want to think about how you use that voice and what you say to another human being, what you type, what you write. And I'm just so fucking over it. I got to tell you, I'm not kidding. Like once a day, I probably think to myself, yeah, my days online are kind of like, my days on social media are like highly numbered. I don't post nearly as much as I used to. And the thing is that people aren't super mean to me in my comments. Once in a blue moon, somebody says something that I'm like, like whatever. And I just leave it there so other people can see them acting like an asshole, right? I'm like, whatever, you know? But people don't like take a lot of time to send me comments about things in a bad or negative way. It's not that hasn't always been true. Trust me, I have a file folder of things that I have received over the years, where people have said and done some like pretty uncool things. And just so I can remember, like in case it, like I'm talking like people stealing like verbatim my bio, people stealing verbatim stuff from my website. Like I'm talking about that kind of stuff, right? But it's just so unnecessary. And then going back to my friend, right? And I'm talking about this because I want each of us to just slow our roll a little bit, to slow, like to create a greater gap between what you think and what you say, what you think and what you do, what you think and what you write. Because you're not always aware of how your words are going to affect another person. And I'm always like, I'm a kid from like the Mr. Rogers era. And I also grew up, right, in Lawrence, Massachusetts and Boston, Massachusetts. It's literally like the capital of like massholism, but the capital of sarcasm. Like taking digs at each other, tearing each other down. I've often talked about how, where I grew up, if you had a vulnerable spot, if you had like a tender spot, we weren't taught that if somebody has a tender spot, that our reaction and our response should be that we're tender with that spot. No, if we find out as kids that you had a tender spot, we saw that you were vulnerable, we pressed on that spot, we attacked that spot, and as I've gotten older, I don't find sarcasm, taking cheap shots at people. It's like, how do I say it? It's a very conflicting thing for me because I'll be like, oh, that's the sound of my people. Like, I get it. I know how this operates. And I've been trying to extract myself from that behavior for many, 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 many years because I don't think that we need to be mean to each other to show affection. I understand why we do it. I understand how it happens. I've been on the receiving and giving end of it. And as I continue to grow and mature, hopefully emotionally, because being sarcastic is easy. Knocking each other down is easy. Loving each other, that takes loving each other and being vulnerable, that takes real strength. It doesn't take any strength at all to have a fucking wise ass mouth. You know what I mean? Okay, here's example number 2. Remember I said my friend was bummed because she's like, I got these two comments. This woman wrote to her and said this: I was excited to be able to see this and to participate in the quote unquote masterclass, which turned out to be a misnomer. Oh, no, I just want to bang my face off my microphone. Which turns out to be a misnomer. Oh, okay, let's just educate my friend on what she was actually doing and what her intention was. Okay, and we're back. This woman continues to say, this was an hour-long infomercial, and I can't point to a single takeaway that I can use in my life. I am disappointed, to be honest. And once again, this person felt the need. This is me in my head. Motherfucker, this was a free hour-long thing. You could have left at the 5-minute mark, the 10-minute mark, the 15-minute mark, the 20-minute mark, the 25-minute mark. You could have left at any time if you didn't think it was worth your time. But no, you stayed for the whole thing. And I'm thinking to myself, why? Why? So you could just stay and then later go write this fucking email so that you could let this other person know how you feel, as if your opinion matters that much. Why be an asshole when you could just be quiet? She could have just said, hey, that wasn't for me. She could have even have thought to herself something like, oh, that was a waste of my time, in her opinion. But why reach out and say that? And it's so fascinating because another person watched it and said, this was informative and interesting. So do you see what I'm saying here? And you know what's fascinating about this? When my friend forwarded me the email, I looked at the name and I looked at the email address. And so I was like, interesting. So I Googled it. She doesn't even know that I did this. I Googled it. The woman that sent this email She works at a Christian school. I looked her up. I found her name. I found her picture. I found what her role was at this school. And you know what's so fascinating? It's so fascinating is that this Christian school that this woman works at, do you know what their mission statement is? Listen to this. Here's their mission statement. This Episcopal blah, 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 blah Christian school, it develops, this is its mission statement, it develops in students a love of learning, respect for self and others, faith in God, and a sense of service to the world community. And the one that jumped off the page for me here was respect for others, because I'm not seeing a lot of Jesus-y kind of response here. I don't think Jesus would have sent this email. I don't think somebody who is in the Christian faith and is pretending to be all Christian-y and all Christ-like. I think to myself, I'm actually a fan. I actually wish, right? Back in the day, remember all the WWJD bracelets, the What Would Jesus Do bracelets? I never had one, but I saw them all the time. And I just think people should go back to wearing them. And before they open their big fat mouths, they take a look at their wrists and they see that WWJD, because I guarantee you this, about 90% of their shenanigans, about 90% of their bullshit would be stopped right in its tracks if they were wicked honest with themselves and said, would Jesus think this? Would Jesus say this? Would Jesus do this? Would Jesus feel the need to let this brother or this sister know where they failed? Isn't there some quote about like, before you try to point out the splinter in somebody else's eye, like look at the log in yours, like look at the fucking tree in your own eyeball? I mean, I'm just fascinated. I'm just fascinated. And the thing is that people think that because there's a comment section, that their commentary is necessary. And it's not. And it's not. You guys. You know, I've done an episode before about the three gates. And it's this idea. I first learned about it through my meditation teacher, Eknatheshwaran. But it goes back. It goes back to like the Sufi. It's like old, right? And it's basically like your words should pass through three gates. Before you say a thing, you ask yourself, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Now, while these opinions may be true to these two people who felt the need to send these, they were not kind, and they certainly weren't necessary. They would not have passed the Jesus test, right? And they certainly wouldn't have passed the test of, hey, right, what I call being in the kind kids club. I'm from a generation of Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers taught us how to be kind to others, right? Bob Ross, you can see him back there on my little seat next to Priscilla, right? He taught us to be kind to ourselves. And then Steve Irwin, we call it like the holy trinity of kindness. Mr. Rogers was like, be kind to others, be kind to your neighbors, right? Bob Ross was like, be kind to yourself. Oh, you made a mistake? Well, it's birds now, right? And then Steve Irwin taught us how to be kind to animals. But something is lacking in this day and age. And here's the reality. You can get mad at me or not if you're somebody who listens to this and you're a Trump fan. But here's the reality. When the president of the United States, when I look back in like, what was it, 2016, when he mocked a reporter with a disability, and people thought that that was okay, because like that should have ended his chances of running the free world right then and there. When you saw what a colossal asshole move that was, and you think, oh, this is this person's way of being. Like he thinks that's okay. And the fact that we exist in an environment where people think that cruelty is cool, and we're seeing more and more and more of it in the world, because when the person who quote unquote is the example of the one who like people, and not all of us, but people voted into office, and people think that, oh, that behavior, that way of being is okay, it just spreads a message. It just spreads a message. And we're in a world right now where people care more about clicks than class, like being classy. Do you know what I mean? Like not being a piece of shit. Like they care more about like clicking, like putting up the headlines and tricking people because they want to get the clicks, they want to get the likes, they want to get the follows, right? They care more about going viral than their virtues, who and how they're being in the world. They don't care how their content, like what content is getting them to go viral. They care more about the comments than they do about having a code. I'm going to do a whole podcast about having a code. I jokingly will often say, man's got to have a code. What's your code? I'll say to people, right? And we seem to be in a code of cruelty lately. We seem to be in a code of like, well, my opinion matters and I have to let everybody know. No, no. Why be an asshole when you can just be quiet? Ask yourself, is this true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? If you're a person of faith, ask yourself, what would Jesus do? Is what I'm about to say, why am I saying it? Why am I about to say this thing? And think about the person, because there is a person on the other side of that screen. There is a person on the other side of that comment box. There is a person on the other side of that email address. And I don't know, you might want to be asking yourself if you are truly representing yourself and how and who you want to be in the world. I don't know. I've been talking now. I don't even know if this one is short. It certainly hasn't felt sweet because I really I'm kind of over it. I'm just kind of over the lackadaisical attitude that people have with slinging around their unkind words and their meanness and their cruelty and their comments, their snide comments. You know, just as I've talked about this 1,000 times, like just being vegan in the world. I don't know what it is about vegans and why people get so threatened by a group of people who are choosing not to harm animals. It does something to I mean, I actually know what's going on. Because there's so much cognitive dissonance in the world because we are a country, especially here in America, where people spend so much money on their pets and they say that they love animals. They say that they love animals while they're still paying somebody else to murder them and rape them and beat them and abuse them and kill them so they can have a burger. There's so much cognitive dissonance in the world. And so you're a person like who like you just post like a vegan recipe or you post something about animal cruelty and people go crazy and then they go in your comments and they write things like, bacon, bacon. I'm like, what is it about our compassion and kindness towards our animal friends that makes people so threatened? I know what it is. It's their own cognitive dissonance shit. It's their own guilt. It's their own shame. It's their own weirdness. But they have to deflect it and like throw it on back at the vegans, right? It's so crazy to me. So much, you guys, so much of what I talk about on this show is about like taking some personal responsibility for the way you're showing up in the world, for the kind of life that you're leading, for the things that you're saying, the things that you're doing, how you're spending your money, how you're talking, how you're speaking, all of it. Like we have to be the adults now and we have to take some responsibility and take a look around. So if you're somebody who's been just like using the comment section to say whatever you want, not thinking about, is this kind? Is this true? Is it necessary? If you're doing that in your relationships, in your friendships, with your family, like whatever, just understand that your words have power. The things that you say, they can affect other people. And it doesn't kill us. Like be a part of the Kind Kids Club. You know, I think I talked about that. I saw this really cute. This was before the Target boycotts, right? But back in the day, I found this cute little lunchbox and it said Kind Kids Club on it. And I was like, I'm in the Kind Kids Club. I want that, right? And that's how I kind of think about what the Nest is, right? My group mentoring program, my spiritual mentoring group program. It's like, it's for the kind kids. It's the Kind Kids Club. It's for the people who just don't want to operate status quo, all this bullshit, all this meanness in the world. It's people who actually want to take responsibility for who they are and how they're being and why they're being that way and knowing their own shit, like owning both their brilliance and their bullshit. You know, so many people don't want to take a look at the fact that they're just walking around reacting out of fear all the time. We have an opportunity to double down on love. We have an opportunity to double down on love, and the world needs it now more than ever. I could go on. I could just go on and on and on about this, but I'm over it. I'm just over it. I'm over people being unkind to one another. It's just not even interesting. It's not sexy. It's not cool. It's not interesting. It's gross, is what it is. It's immature and it's gross. And it shows absolutely no discipline, lack of discipline if you're not able to do it. Now, this doesn't mean that you don't get to have opinions, you guys. You get to have opinions. And I'm not saying that you don't ever speak up because there is a time and a place. But man, do people just feel the need to just say their opinion about things when it's just totally unnecessary. It's not needed. And I see the effects of it. I work with people too, right? I mean, I grew up in a household where a lot of unnecessary, unkind, cruel, mean fucking things were said too. You know, I was a kid, I was a byproduct of that environment. And I've had to do a lot of work over the years, right? To come to a place of like self-love, right? Like getting back to a place where I was like, oh, like I am actually lovable. You know what I mean? Oh gosh. All right, I'm just gonna end it there. I'm just gonna end it there. For the love of all things holy, wherever you go. I mean, think about how the whole premise of this show is to spread more love in the world, to use spirituality and storytelling to help people to understand themselves more. When you understand yourselves more and you start to take a look around, you start to understand other people more, and you start to understand that all we want to do is be loved and accepted and belong and to feel like that we matter. And our words are so powerful, and we could be using our words to build each other up rather than tear each other down. So wherever you go, may you leave the people better, the animals better, right? Yourself better, the environment and the planet better than how you first found them. Think about that. Is my being here and the quality of my thoughts, my words, and my actions going to leave this person, this program, this thing better for my having been here? Wherever you go, may you and your energy and your love and your presence, your kindness be a blessing. Bye.